Hello. In this video, we present a shorter version of our contribution to the DH North 2020 conference, which was dedicated to data papers. At this conference, we presented the perspective and experience of the Journal of Open Humanities Data in publishing data papers for the humanities. This contribution was made by members of the JOHD team, in particular, Nilo Petrozzini, copy editor and editorial assistant, Barbara McGillivray, editor, Paula Maronjo, social editor, media editor, and I, Martin Ribari, copy editor. We first took stock of the state of data papers over time and today. We have learned that the publication of data papers has increased exponentially, especially for science. What we have noticed, however, is that currently, for the humanities, we only have 5 data journals. These 5 journals are the Journal of Open Archaeology Data, the Journal of Open Psychology Data, the Journal of Open Humanities Data, the Research Data in the Humanities and Social Sciences, and Internet Archaeology. This 5th, Internet Archaeology, cannot really be considered a data journal, since its purpose is rather the publication of digital representations of artifacts. The question then arises, why do we have this difference between the sciences and humanities? A fundamental question in our opinion concerns the definition of data in the humanities. There is fundamental difficulty about finding a definition which would be suitable for all humanities disciplines. The field of humanities is vast and heterogeneous. It includes disciplines such as linguistics, philology, philosophy, that all have very different research topics and produce very different objects. They use data, methods, and tools that are difficult to compare. Hence, the difficulty, but also the need to find an inclusive definition for the term data. As a result, researchers are often unaware of their work on data, calling it in different ways: corpora, audio traces, critical and/or digital edits, and so on. It is important to encourage researchers to become aware of this enormous work, which often remains hidden and unrecognized in relation to research results. To do so, it is important to underline the advantages that data papers as a special type of publication brings to researchers as well as to the scientific community. The publication of a data paper involves the open access repository of a database and, therefore, the sharing of data to the wider audience. This sharing encourages knowledge exchange between researchers and contributes to scientific progress. Finally, but not less important, publishing an article about the database implies that the database itself is well structured and documented and clear to an external user. As far as authors of data papers are concerned, a first advantage is seeing one's own work recognized, cited for creating reusable data, and connecting with other researchers thinking about reuse, which may improve the data itself. After these introductory words, we can finally give a clear definition of what we mean by data paper. The Journal of Open Humanities Data defines data paper as a publication that should make researchers aware of the data they are working with and of their potential for reuse by other researchers. So, it must describe the methods used for the creation of the database, its structure, its potential for reuse, and it must provide a link to its open access location. The Journal of Open Humanities Data was launched in 2015 as part of the Ubiquity Press meta-journal portfolio. These meta-journals publish about research data, software, and hardware. The goal was to promote the values of sharing and reuse of data in the humanities in view of the situation just described. The JOHD team consists of researchers from different fields of the humanities and social sciences, such as linguistics, classical studies, and law. In JOHD, we publish 2 types of articles, which are both centered on the description of data. The first type is the data paper, which is rather short about 1,000 words long, it is supposed to provide a structured and synthetic description of the database. The second type is the research paper, which is a bit longer, 3,000 to 5,000 words long. Its purpose is to discuss and illustrate the methods, obstacles, and the limitations of collecting, creating, and analyzing data for reuse. Publication with JOHD follows rather fixed steps. You must first choose an open repository where to deposit the data, indicate the DOI of the deposit in the article, and then submit the article. After making the requested changes, it is good practice to add the DOI of the data paper to the open repository in order to increase the visibility of both as much as possible. JOHD advises 5 open repositories, among them the JOHD Dataverse, which was designed specifically for the data which is the subject of an article published in the journal. JOHD regularly accepts article submissions, but there are also special collections for which we have open calls. We have 3 special collections at the moment: humanities data in the time of COVID-19, language documentation collections, assessment and recognition, and computational humanities research data. You may find more information about these on our website. JOHD also engages in a number of external activities that go beyond the publication of articles. So far, we have organized 2 open humanities data forums to encourage discussion about the values, sharing, and reuse of data in humanities disciplines. We have also participated in external events, such as the LIBER conference in the Working with Software and Data session, and expert roundtable on data citation organized by the Social Sciences and Humanities Open Cloud. Now, please let me show you the results of the first analysis that we have been able to carry out on the publication activity of JOHD so far. We can see that publication activity has increased considerably over time from the launch of the journal in 2015 until the end of the period under review in August 2021. We tagged published articles according to their main subject area, using the keywords that the authors provided when submitting their manuscripts. What we have noticed is that some areas are obviously more productive in this sense than others. Unsurprisingly, digital humanities and natural language processing were 2 of the most popular keywords used by JOHD authors. What also emerges from this analysis that many JOHD contributions are interdisciplinary. JOHD authors are asked to fill out a form to capture their impressions of the journal. In addition to the positive comments on the submission and peer review process, the form helped us to understand why authors choose this journal over others. One reason was the field of humanities in which JOHD positions itself, and another was JOHD's emphasis on open access and data sharing. We carried out a study to see how the publication of a data paper can increase the visibility of the database it describes. To do so, we calculated the correlation between the number of visualizations and the number of downloads from the database, as well as the number of tweets about the data paper and the number of downloads from the database. We noticed while there seems to be a positive, though not quite a significant correlation in the first, there is a positive and significant correlation in the second. What does this mean for us? We can conclude that the scholarly community is drawn in by Twitter about the database, which has a detailed and well-structured description and went through a rigorous peer review process. Also, the scholarly community is more likely to use a database where peer review has confirmed its scholarly validity and its reuse potential. To conclude, we would like to place the data paper in the broader context of open access publication, which will represent through a model we call the open access pyramid. At the foundation of the pyramid, we find the project repository, which makes all the resource files available and which allows you to follow the workflow. On top of this, we find the data repository, which assigns a DOI to the published data and provides a user manual for the deposited data. On this third level of the pyramid sits the data paper, which draws attention to the resource and emphasizes its potential for reuse. Finally, on the top of the pyramid, we find the research article, which gives visibility to one particular interpretation of the research results, ideally published with open evaluation and in an open access format, and gives immediate access to an electronic version. This model recognizes the complexity of the research and the dissemination process. In addition, it explicitly states that the analytical research paper at the top of the pyramid presents only one possible interpretation of the data collected, which may be the subject of further analysis. In its reuse as encouraged by the data paper, the data repository, and the project repository at lower levels of the pyramid of open access. Please stay connected for other videos on YouTube, follow us on Twitter, and find our email addresses for any questions you may have. Thank you for watching.